Advisor Advice Part 2. Welcome back to another episode of the Cash Kid Podcast. If you haven't already, be sure to visit our website at cashkidpodcast.com for more resources and links to past episodes. Follow us on Instagram as well. Today is part 2 of our Advisor Advice interview with Financial Advisor Mr. Jon Cunningham. If you missed the first part of my interview with him, definitely go back and listen to it first. So much great advice. And he's got more to share. The Cash Kid Podcast is underway. So, you got some cash, maybe from an allowance, or that money your grandma gave you for your 7th birthday.
Here you go, sweetie.
Woohoo! Thanks, Grandma! Whatever it is, what are you gonna do with it? Spend it, hide it away, or maybe invest it? Let's start learning how to make that money grow. Time to learn how to be a cash kid. All right, let's jump back in to part 2 of our interview with Mr. Jon Cunningham. So, what are some ways that kids can learn about personal finance in the stock market?
Yeah, another great question. I think it's very important. Someone once told me to always preserve precious capital. And so as you're working as a young person and you're working hard and you're sweating outside, maybe mowing grass or doing chores for your parents, the last thing you want to do is earn that money and then lose it. So it's important that you really understand how investments and how the stock market works before you just put money in an account and buy a stock and hope for the best, right?
Definitely.
Even when I was in high school, we had a stock market simulation game. And so there are programs out there that will basically give you play money. So it's not real money. You're not subjecting your own money to risk, but you're buying stocks with this, fake money and not real stocks. But it's a way to simulate how stocks work and the buying and the selling of stocks and researching them without putting money at risk. So that's an easy and safe way for a young person to really understand and learn the market without actually subjecting their money to risk and loss.
Yeah. In our previous episode, we talked about what is the stock market game. And so we talked with one of my teachers that introduced that to me.
Oh, cool.
That's how I learned about the stock market. And so that's what our previous episode was about. What are some ways kids can start earning, saving, and investing their money?
Yeah, this is going to require a little bit of involvement from mom and dad. But until you reach the age of adulthood, you really can't open an investment account without the involvement of a parent or guardian. So there are accounts called UTMAs, Uniformed Transfers of Minors accounts. And these are accounts that are owned by a guardian or a parent for your benefit. And money can go into these investment accounts and certainly can be invested for your benefit. However, the parent owns this account, though the funds have to be used for you and for your benefit, and someday would have to be transferred to you when you became an adult. So this would be a safe way, I'd say safe, this could be a way to open an account with parental oversight that you can invest some of your money in the market that eventually can be for your benefit.
Yeah. Do you think there are any jobs out there that kids could do?
Oh, absolutely. I have 3 kids. I love it when they work for me. And I think oftentimes kids try to find creative ways of forming a business early, whether it be mowing grass or everything from that to pressure washing, things like that. And oftentimes it's tough to find prospects. It's tough to find customers. It takes time and energy and money and overhead to make that income. when oftentimes you can find things in your own backyard that you can do for your parents that they would really appreciate and also be willing to pay you some money to do it. And so certainly I think it's a good thing for kids to have chores and allowances, but then also to work for that money. So that could be something you talk to your parents about and say, hey, I want to make $25 a month. What can I do around the house to make that kind of money? And I'm sure, most parents would be happy to oblige.
Yes. Now, I assume you would agree that parents can play a big role in the financial success of kids. I mean, kids are always thinking of a new way to pick up spending habits. What ways can parents be involved in helping set their kids on a healthy financial path?
Yeah, Cash, another great question. One of the biggest issues with our economy right now is just the enormous amount of student loan debt that's out there. To understand what a student loan is, when a young person wants to go to college and they don't have the cash or the resources to pay for tuition and room and board and all those types of things, they'll go to lending institutions to get a loan to cover those costs. Oftentimes, interest and payments are deferred on those loans until that person graduates. So the risk associated with that is a student goes to college, incurs this debt, and they graduate, and number one, maybe they can't find a job, or they can't find a job that pays enough money for them to cover the student loan debt, plus all their other living expenses that's out there. So part of the way that parents can help their kids be on a good financial trajectory is to make sure that they're making little decisions early on in their children's lives by setting money aside and college-related accounts like 529 plans or other investment accounts that are earmarked for their kids' college. So with some of the listeners that you might be having here, could be a question could be, what can I be doing to set money aside that could help my parents pay for my college someday? Or maybe it's, what can I be doing to do really well in school that I get what's called a scholarship, and some of my tuition might be covered, and all that could be helpful in ways of setting yourselves up financially for the future. But then also, too, I think it's important for parents just to be good examples and show good stewardship and be good stewards of cash flow and educate kids on just simply what's a credit card mean or what's a checking account mean. And then what can we be doing to ensure I'm building a good credit score even at a young age? Just kind of having transparent conversations like that, I think are really important.
Yes. So, I'm sure you tell this to your partners in a lot of work like that you do. So, when you educate others about early investing, why do you think early investing is important?
Well, that's a great question. So I was prepared to answer that one. So when you look at the cost of waiting and waiting on investing, it's very expensive. So take an example of a 10-year-old child that says, hey, I have $600 a year or $50 a month that I want to invest. And I'm going to invest that money and hopefully earn 6% growth for the next 55 years. So you're looking at starting at 10 years old to age 65, so 55 years. Guess how much money that person has in 55 years? They have $236,503. So they started at age 10 and saved the exact same amount between age 10 and age 65. So now, let's fast forward and say, hey, a 15-year-old says, hey, I want to do the exact same thing. I want to set aside $50 a month or $600 per year for the next 50 years until I'm 65 years old. Guess how much money that person has? They have $174,201.54, assuming they can make 6% every single year. A cost difference of a little over $62,000. So you see, there's a significant cost to waiting and delaying saving and investing at a young age. Now, there's not many 10-year-olds that can set aside $600 a year, consistently. That's a lot of work and that's a lot of chores and that's understandable. But just that exercise shows you that it's very important to start early, especially when you get out of college and you start making an income, to really begin diligently saving and setting money aside for the future, um, and not delaying because it is expensive.
Right, so what age would you say somebody could start investing?
Well, really, it can start at any time with the assistance of mom and dad or guardian. Um, typically, you have to be age 18 to open an account by yourself and have an account individually owned by just yourself. So you have to be 18 years old to have your own account. But again, going back to the previous point, you can open what's called an UTMA with the assistance of mom and dad.
What resources would you suggest about researching companies to invest or find an advisor like yourself to get help?
Yeah, that's a great question. Oftentimes, if you just simply ask your mom and dad, say, "Hey, do we have a financial advisor?" And chances are they're going to say yes. And oftentimes, they'd be happy to talk to people like you, Cash Kid, and your listeners for sure, especially if they have good questions. So I think that's step one, just to kind of say, hey, is there an existing relationship that I can take advantage of and ask them questions, number one. Number two, if that's not available, Google Finance is something that's a great tool. You can go on and check any stock and you can see all the publicly offered information like revenue and expenses and EBITDA and all these types of things that are on the marketplace. So Google Finance is a very good and free resource to research and look into the stocks that you might have interest in.
That's it for today. We appreciate your time and your expertise. Thank you for joining us on the call today and boosting the financial knowledge of the fellow Cash Kids everywhere. Remember that anybody can be a Cash Kid. You just have to learn how to become one.
Thanks, Cash Kid.
Thank you, Mr. Jon. Wow. I've got some more homework to do for sure, as I learned a lot from Mr. Jon, and excited to think of the payout to early investing and knowing how to be financially smart early in life. More great interviews like this one in future episodes. Remember to visit us at thecashkidpodcast.com for more helpful tools, information, and past episodes. Cash Kid out.
The information presented represents the views and opinions of the guest. This podcast does not intend to provide personal investment advice. This content has been made for informational and educational purposes only. To make a full and informed investment decision, we advise you to speak with a financial advisor. And for kids, definitely your parents first before investing.